Velthar stood by the observation window and watched the human ship dock with the station. The vessel was small compared to the massive council ships that surrounded it. Plain gray metal with simple markings. Nothing impressive, nothing threatening. Just like the humans themselves, Velthar thought. The Silicate Observer had studied humans for 3 years now. They were one of the newer species in the Galactic Council. Only 30 years since first contact. Still learning how things worked in civilized space. Still making mistakes. Still too eager, too hopeful. It was almost endearing. The airlock opened. 3 humans stepped onto the station. The first was Tae-Yang Kim, the human ambassador. He wore a dark formal suit, his gray hair perfectly combed. His face was calm, almost gentle. He smiled at the council guards and bowed slightly. Very polite, very careful. Velthar had seen him negotiate for hours without raising his voice once. Behind him walked Ji-Won Park, the military attaché. She was shorter, stockier, with sharp eyes that never stopped moving. Her uniform was neat, but she wore it like she'd rather be somewhere else. Velthar had noticed she rarely smiled during council sessions. She watched everything, evaluated everything. The third was Yuna Lee, a young scientist and cultural liaison. She carried a data pad and seemed nervous. This was probably her first time at the council station. She looked around with wide eyes, taking in the alien architecture, the different species moving through the halls. Velthar's communicator buzzed. The council session would begin in 1 hour. Time to get to the observation gallery. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of seats arranged in circles, each one occupied by a representative from the galaxy's major civilizations. The Krovar Dominion held the largest section. Their ambassador, a massive creature with armored skin and 4 arms, lounged in his seat like he owned the room. In many ways, he did. The Krovar had military power. They had resources. They had influence. The humans had a small section near the back. 3 seats. That was all. Ambassador Tae-Yang stood when his turn came to speak. He walked to the center platform with measured steps. No rushing, no hesitation, just steady movement. "Honored council members," he began. His voice was clear but not loud. "I come before you today to discuss a growing concern. Over the past 6 months, human colonies along the border zones have experienced 17 attacks. These attacks have resulted in the deaths of over 2,000 civilians." Velthar typed notes into the observation log. The humans spoke facts without emotion. Good diplomatic technique. "We have evidence," Tae-Yang continued, "that these attacks originated from Krovar military vessels. We have wreckage. We have survivor testimony. We have sensor logs." He gestured to Yuna, who transmitted data to the council's displays. The Krovar ambassador didn't even stand. He simply waved one massive hand dismissively. "Pirates," he said in his deep, rumbling voice. "The border zones are lawless. Perhaps if the humans were stronger, they could protect their own territory." Some council members made sounds of agreement. Others remained silent. Tae-Yang's expression didn't change. "We request a formal investigation. We ask that the council examine our evidence and determine the truth. We seek justice, not conflict." The council arbiter, a floating crystal being named Eshtal, spoke next. "The council acknowledges humanity's request. We will take the matter under advisement. A decision will be made within the standard review period." "How long is that period?" Ji-Won asked from her seat. Her voice was harder than Tae-Yang's. "Approximately 4 to 6 of your months," Eshtal replied. 4 to 6 months, Ji-Won repeated quietly. Velthar saw her jaw tighten. Tae-Yang bowed. "We thank the council for their time and consideration." He returned to his seat. That was it. The session moved on to other topics. Trade disputes, resource allocation, border definitions. The human issue was already forgotten by most of the room. Velthar watched the human delegation carefully. Tai Yang sat perfectly still, his hands folded in his lap. Yuna looked disappointed, but unsurprised. Ji-won stared at the Crovar section with an expression Velthar couldn't quite read. After the session ended, Velthar approached the humans in the diplomatic lounge. It was part of the observer's job to gather insights, to understand the newer species. Ambassador Kim, Velthar said, using the proper human title format. May I ask you a few questions for my research? Tae Yang smiled, that same gentle smile. Of course, Observer Velthar. How can I help you? Your presentation was very thorough, very professional, yet the council seemed unmoved. How do you feel about that? Tae Yang considered the question for a moment. Disappointed, he said finally, but not surprised. The council moves slowly. That's the nature of large governmental bodies. We understand that. We'll continue to work through proper channels. Even though your people are dying? Velthar asked. It wasn't meant to be cruel, just factual. Especially because our people are dying, Tae Yang replied. War is easy, peace is hard. We choose the hard path because the alternative costs too much. Velthar found this fascinating. Your species has a history of warfare, according to my research, many wars over thousands of years, yet now you seem almost passive. Ji-won made a sound, almost a laugh, but not quite. Tae Yang glanced at her, and she went quiet. We learned from our history, Tae Yang said. We learned that violence should always be the last option, not the first. We learned that patience, even when it's painful, is often wiser than action. Even when your colonies are attacked? When your children die? Tae Yang's smile faded slightly, just for a second. His eyes changed. Something cold flickered there, something old and deep. Then it was gone, and the gentle ambassador returned. We hope it doesn't come to that, he said softly. We truly hope it doesn't. Velthar returned to the observation quarters that night and typed up the day's findings. The entry concluded with a simple statement. Humans are remarkably patient creatures, perhaps too patient for the harsh realities of galactic politics. They seem to believe that reason and evidence will prevail. This observer predicts they will learn otherwise, likely at great cost. They may be too gentle for this galaxy. Velthar saved the file and turned off the lights. Tomorrow would bring more council sessions, more observations, more data to collect. The humans would probably make their case again. The council would probably ignore them again. It was all very predictable. Outside the window, stars filled the darkness. Somewhere out there, human colonies sat on the border zones, waiting, hoping their government could protect them through words instead of weapons. Velthar wondered how long that hope would last. 3 weeks passed. Velthar had almost forgotten about the human situation. The council had moved on to other matters. A trade dispute between the Velen and the Thrace, mining rights in the Outer Rim, standard bureaucratic work. Then the emergency transmission came through. Velthar was in the archives when the alert siren started. Every screen in the station suddenly showed the same image. A human colony station, Bellwether Station, the readout said. Population, 40,000. The station was breaking apart. The footage was from a security camera. Velthar watched as sections of the hull exploded outward. Atmosphere vented into space, carrying debris and bodies with it. The camera shook. Sparks flew across the view. Then the feed cut to another camera. This one showed a control room. A human man sat at the command console. His name tag read, Governor Hyun-woo Choi. His face was calm despite the chaos around him. Behind him, people were screaming, running. Fire spread across one wall. This is Governor Choi of Bellwether Station, the man said into his communicator. His voice was steady, professional. We are under attack by Crovar military vessels. Multiple battlecruisers. They are firing on civilian sections. I repeat, they are deliberately targeting civilian sections. An explosion rocked the room. The governor gripped his console to stay upright. "We have 40,000 people here, families, children. This is not a military installation. We have no weapons. We are evacuating what we can, but—" He paused, looked at something off-screen. His professional mask slipped. For just a moment, Velthar saw pure anguish cross his face. "They're targeting the evacuation pods. They're shooting the escape ships." Another explosion. Closer this time. The lights flickered. "If anyone receives this," Governor Choi said, "tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we followed every law, every regulation. We harmed no one. We were just—" The feed went black. Velthar stood frozen in the archive room. Around the station, alarms continued to blare. Emergency council session. All observers to report immediately. The council chamber was chaos. Representatives shouted at each other, demanded explanations, pointed fingers. The Krovar ambassador sat in his seat, his armored face showing no emotion. Ambassador Tae Yang entered the chamber. Velthar had never seen a human look like that before. His face was perfectly blank, not calm, not gentle, just empty, like he'd shut down something inside himself to keep functioning. Ji-won walked beside him, her hand rested on her sidearm. Council guards watched her nervously. "Ambassador Kim," the arbiter said, "we have reviewed the transmission. This is a tragedy. The council extends its deepest—" 40,000 people, Tae Yang interrupted. His voice was quiet, flat. 17,000 were children. The chamber went silent. "We came to you 3 weeks ago," Tae Yang continued. "We showed you evidence. We asked for help. You told us you would study the matter. You told us to wait." "The council cannot act hastily," the arbiter began. 40,000 people, Tae Yang said again. "They waited. They trusted that the council would protect them. That galactic law meant something. They were wrong." The Krovar ambassador finally stood. His massive form dominated his section. "The Krovar Dominion had no involvement in this attack. These accusations are baseless. We will not tolerate—" "We have wreckage with your military codes," Ji-won said coldly. "We have survivors who saw your ships. We have sensor logs showing your vessels in the area. Would you like us to present them now, or should we wait another few months while you kill more of our people?" "Attaché Park," the arbiter said sharply. "You will show respect to this council." Ji-won laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Respect? You want us to show respect to the body that sat and watched while our children burned?" Tae Yang put a hand on her arm. She fell silent immediately, but her eyes still burned with rage. "I formally request," Tae Yang said, "an immediate investigation and intervention. I request Council peacekeeping forces be deployed to protect human colonies until this matter is resolved." The arbiter floated silently for a moment. Then, "The Council will vote on your request." The vote took an hour. Velthar watched from the observation gallery as species after species declined to act. Too complicated, too risky, might upset the balance of power. The Krovar had too much influence. Better to study it further. Better to wait. The final count: 5 votes in favor of intervention, 37 against, 18 abstentions. "The motion fails," the arbiter announced. "However, the council agrees to form an investigative committee to examine the situation. The committee will present findings within 6 months." Velthar saw it happen. Saw the moment something broke inside Ambassador Tae Yang. His empty expression didn't change, but his eyes did. For just a second, something ancient and terrible looked out from behind them. Something that had seen too much death. Something that remembered every war, every atrocity, every lesson humanity had learned in blood over thousands of years. Then he blinked, and it was gone. "I see," Tae Yang said softly. "Thank you for your time, Arbiter." He turned and walked out of the chamber. Ji-won followed. Yuna rushed after them, her face wet with tears. 2 days later, humanity recalled every ambassador from Council space, every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, every trade negotiator. They all went home. Velthar tried to reach Tai Yang before he left, found him in the docking bay, loading the last of his belongings onto the human ship. "Ambassador," Velthar said, "may I ask what humanity plans to do now?" Tai Yang looked at the silicate observer for a long moment. "We're going home," he said finally. "We're done asking for help." "You're giving up?" "No," Tai Yang said. His voice was still soft, still controlled. "We're done asking. There's a difference." He boarded the ship. The airlock closed. The vessel undocked and turned toward human space. Velthar stood in the empty docking bay and felt something like dread settle in. This didn't feel like surrender. It felt like something else, something worse. Later that day, Velthar received a message from a human survivor, a woman named Sora Kong. She'd been an engineer on Bellwether Station. She'd escaped in one of the few pods that made it out. The message was short. "I watched them kill my neighbors, my friends. I watched them shoot children as they tried to escape, and I watched the galaxy do nothing. We won't forget this. None of us will." Velthar filed the message in the research database and typed a new observation. "I believed humans would accept the Council's decision and return to diplomatic channels. I may have been wrong." There was something in Ambassador Kim's eyes before he left. Something I don't have the words to describe. I suspect humanity is not retreating. I suspect they are preparing. For what? I cannot say. But I believe the galaxy will soon find out. In the observation quarters that night, Velthar couldn't sleep. Kept replaying Governor Choi's final transmission. Kept seeing Tai Yang's eyes in that one unguarded moment. Kept wondering what humanity looked like when it stopped being patient. 2 months after Bellwether, the Council sent Velthar to human space. Official mission: observe and report on humanity's status. Unofficial purpose: find out why they'd gone completely silent. No human ships had left their territory in 60 days. No communications, no trade, nothing. It was like they'd vanished. Velthar's ship approached Earth's orbital stations and immediately noticed something wrong. The civilian stations that used to handle trade were empty, dark, but new structures floated in orbit. Massive constructions, industrial facilities working at full capacity. The energy signatures were enormous. A human patrol ship intercepted Velthar's vessel at the border. Military craft, small, fast, and heavily armed. Nothing like the civilian ships Velthar had seen before. "This is Commander Jae-sung Ryu of Earth Defense," the communication came through. "State your purpose." "I am Observer Velthar of the Galactic Council," Velthar replied. "I have permission to visit human space for research purposes." Long silence. Then, "Permission granted. You'll be escorted to Earth. Do not deviate from the flight path." 6 more military ships appeared around Velthar's vessel. They weren't threatening, but the message was clear. "You're being watched." Earth looked different from orbit. The lights weren't just from cities anymore. Entire continents glowed with industrial activity, factories running day and night. Velthar's sensors picked up massive energy consumption, resource processing, manufacturing on a scale that seemed impossible. They'd transformed their entire world in 60 days. Velthar was taken to a military facility, not the diplomatic center from before. This was a bunker built into a mountain. Armed guards everywhere, people moving with purpose. No one smiled. No one wasted time with pleasantries. Jiwon Park met Velthar in a briefing room. She wore a military uniform now. Not an attaché uniform, a commander's uniform, stars on her shoulders. Fleet Commander, the rank insignia read. "Observer," she said, no warmth in her voice. "Why are you here?" "The Council is concerned," Velthar said carefully. "You've gone silent. They want to understand what humanity is doing. Now they're concerned, Jiwon said. Interesting timing. She gestured to a chair. Velthar sat. Jiwon remained standing, arms crossed. What is humanity doing? Jiwon repeated the question. We're preparing. For what? You can probably guess. Velthar's crystalline body shifted nervously. The council hopes you're not planning anything rash. War with the Krovar would be... Would be what? Jiwon interrupted. Dangerous? Foolish? It would certainly be inconvenient for the council, wouldn't it? Having to actually pick a side instead of hiding behind committees and investigations. The council is trying to maintain peace. The council is trying to maintain comfort, Jiwon corrected. Peace requires action. What the council wants is inaction disguised as diplomacy. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed fleet formations, hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. We gave you 4 chances, Jiwon said quietly. 4 separate requests for help. 4 times, you chose to do nothing. So now you get to watch while we do something. You can't possibly win against the Krovar, Velthar said. They have the largest military in this sector. They've been building their forces for centuries. Jiwon smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Can I show you something? Observer? She led Velthar through the facility to a viewing window. Below them, a massive hangar stretched into the distance. Ships filled every space, battle cruisers, destroyers, carriers, support vessels, thousands of people working on them, loading weapons, running tests, preparing. This is just one facility, Jiwon said. We have 37 like it across Earth, another 60 on our colonies. We've converted every civilian shipyard to military production. Every factory is making weapons or ammunition or armor. Every resource we have is going to one purpose. In 2 months? Velthar couldn't believe it. We're very good at mobilizing, Jiwon said. We've had lots of practice. Thousands of years of practice, actually. We fought wars on Earth that make the Krovar conflicts look small. Wars that killed millions. Wars that nearly destroyed our entire species. We learned how to turn peace into war faster than any species you've ever studied. She looked at Velthar directly. You know what the scariest part is? We didn't want this. We tried so hard to avoid this. Ambassador Tae Yang spent 3 years working through your systems, following your rules, believing that civilization meant something, that law meant something. You proved him wrong. Where is Ambassador Kim? Velthar asked. He resigned, Jiwon said, the day we got back to Earth. Said he couldn't be part of what comes next. Said someone else should carry that weight. So here I am. A captain entered the room, a woman with sharp eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. Commander, the fleet is ready for inspection. Thank you, Captain Han, Jiwon said. She turned back to Velthar. Would you like to meet some of my officers, since you're here to observe? They walked to another briefing room. A dozen humans stood around a tactical table, all military, all focused. One of them was the captain who'd just entered. Min Seo-han, her name tag read. Another was the patrol commander from earlier, Jae-sung Ryu. He nodded at Velthar but didn't smile. This is Observer Velthar, Jiwon announced. From the council. They want to understand what we're doing. I told them they could watch. Someone should bear witness to what happens when you force peaceful people to become something else. Captain Min Seo stepped forward. We've studied the Krovar military doctrine for 3 weeks straight. Their tactics, their ship designs, their supply lines, everything. And? Jiwon asked. They're overconfident, Min Seo said. They've never fought anyone who could match them. They're used to overwhelming weaker opponents with brute force, no finesse, no adaptation. They think size equals victory. Commander Jae-sung added, My teams have already infiltrated their space. We have assets on 15 Krovar worlds. Their command networks are less secure than they think. Velthar felt something cold settle in. These humans weren't angry soldiers rushing into battle. They were calculating, professional. They'd spent 2 months studying their enemy and preparing with terrifying efficiency. "When do we launch?" another officer asked. 72 hours, Jiwan said. "We hit them fast and we hit them hard. No warning, no declaration, no mercy. They killed 40,000 civilians. They shot children trying to escape. They've earned what's coming." The room erupted in activity. Officers checking displays, running calculations, coordinating movements. Velthar watched them work and felt something like fear for the first time. These weren't the gentle diplomats from the council station. These were humans as they actually were. Efficient, ruthless when necessary, capable of incredible violence when pushed far enough. Jiwan walked Velthar back to the observation quarters they'd prepared. "You can stay here if you want. Watch what happens. Report back to your council. Tell them what they created." "What they created?" Velthar asked. "You could have stopped this," Jiwan said simply. "One vote, one intervention. You could have shown the Krovar that there are consequences for killing civilians. Instead, you showed them there aren't any. You showed us that we're alone. That the only justice we'll get is the justice we take for ourselves." She turned to leave, then paused. "Do you know what humans call it when someone attacks the weak and no one helps? We call it evil, and we've fought evil before. We've fought it on our own world for thousands of years. Sometimes we lost, but we never stopped fighting. We never will." The door closed. Velthar was alone. That night, Velthar filed a report to the council. It was marked urgent. It ended with a simple warning. "I came to human space expecting to find a defeated species. Instead, I found something that terrifies me. Humanity hasn't given up. They've transformed. Every human world is now a war machine. They've mobilized their entire civilization in 60 days. They move with purpose and precision. They aren't angry soldiers. They're professionals who've done this before. The galaxy has made a terrible mistake. We didn't unleash humanity's rage. We unleashed humanity's competence, and that's far more dangerous." Velthar requested permission to stay embedded with the human fleet. Jiwan approved it. "Someone should see this," she said. "Someone should understand what it costs to ignore justice." They gave Velthar quarters on the battlecruiser Indomitable, Captain Minseo Han's flagship. The ship was massive but felt different from council vessels. Everything had a purpose, no decoration, no wasted space, just efficient design meant for one thing: war. The fleet departed on schedule. 300 warships, thousands of support craft, 50,000 human soldiers and crew. They moved in perfect formation through the void. Velthar watched from the observation deck as they approached Krovar space, expected to see nervousness, fear. These humans were about to fight the most powerful military force in the sector. Instead, everyone seemed calm, focused. They'd trained for this, prepared for this. They knew exactly what they were doing. Captain Minseo stood on the bridge, reviewing tactical displays. She looked relaxed, in control. "All ships," she said into the fleet channel. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Remember Bellwether." "Remember Bellwether," 40,000 voices replied in unison. They hit the first Krovar battle group without warning. 12 Krovar battleships protecting a military station. The Krovar detected the human fleet and immediately launched fighters. They outnumbered the humans 3-1. Velthar had studied warfare, knew the tactics. The Krovar should have had the advantage. They were bigger, more heavily armed, more experienced. The human fleet tore through them in 40 minutes. Velthar watched in stunned silence as human ships moved in ways that shouldn't be possible. They were smaller than Krovar vessels, but faster. So much faster. They coordinated perfectly. Every ship knew where every other ship would be. They fought like one organism instead of separate units. A Krovar battleship fired its main cannon at the Indomitable. The blast should have destroyed them. Instead, the human ship rolled sideways at the last second. The shot missed by meters. Return fire from a dozen human vessels struck the Krovar ship's weak point simultaneously. Its shields collapsed, its hull split open. "Target destroyed," an officer reported calmly. "Moving to next priority." One by one, the Krovar ships fell. Their formation broke. They tried to retreat. The humans didn't let them, pursued them, destroyed them. When it was over, 12 Krovar battleships were debris. The military station was disabled. The human fleet had lost 4 ships, 4 out of 300. "Salvage what we can," Captain Minseo ordered. "Medical teams, search for survivors." Velthar noticed that. They were searching for survivors. Even after everything, even in the middle of a war, they still tried to save enemy lives when they could. A young human pilot named Bo Ra Song returned from the battle. Her fighter had 37 confirmed kills. Velthar met her in the hangar bay. "How did you do that?" Velthar asked. "Those maneuvers. Your body should have been crushed by the G-forces." Bo-Ra removed her helmet. She looked tired. "We train for it. High G resistance training. We push our bodies past normal limits. We have to. We're smaller and weaker than most species physically, so we compensate. We make ourselves capable of things that shouldn't be possible." "Doesn't it hurt?" "Yes," she said simply. "Everything about war hurts. That's why we tried so hard to avoid it." The fleet moved deeper into Krovar space, hit another battle group, then another. Each time, the same result. The Krovar fought with brute force. The humans fought with precision. The Krovar followed predictable tactics. The humans adapted constantly. 3 days into the offensive, Velthar was summoned to Captain Minseo's ready room. Commander Jae-sung was there via hologram. "My teams have disabled the Krovar command network," Jae-sung reported. 3 of their major communication hubs are down. They can't coordinate between fleets anymore. Each battle group is isolated. "How did you—" Velthar started to ask. "We've had people in their systems for weeks," Jae-sung said. "Planted viruses, created backdoors. Military intelligence is part of Warfare Observer. Always has been." Captain Minseo pulled up a tactical map. Red markers showed Krovar positions. Blue showed human forces. The red markers were scattered, confused. The blue markers moved with purpose. "They're trying to regroup near their home world," Minseo said. "Building a defensive line. They think if they mass their forces in one place, they can stop us." "Can they?" Velthar asked. "No," Minseo said flatly. "Their defensive doctrine is outdated. They put too much faith in static positions. They don't understand mobile warfare." The human fleet arrived at the Krovar defensive line 6 days after the offensive began. 200 Krovar ships, every available vessel they could gather. They formed a wall between the humans and the Krovar home world. Velthar expected the humans to stop, to consider, to maybe negotiate now that they'd proven their point. Instead, the human fleet split into 3 groups. One hit the Krovar line from the front. The other 2 swept around the flanks. Classic envelopment maneuver. The Krovar tried to adjust, but their formations were too rigid, too slow. The battle lasted 6 hours. It was brutal, intense. The Krovar fought desperately. They knew they were losing. They knew what defeat meant. The humans showed no mercy, not cruelty, just absolute determination. They'd come here for a purpose and nothing would stop them. In the middle of the battle, the Krovar Supreme Commander broadcast a message. His name was Krell Noth. He appeared on every screen, his armored face twisted in rage. "You dare attack us?" he roared. "You insignificant creatures! We will burn every human world. We will kill every one of you. We will—" The transmission cut off. Commander Jae-sung's face appeared instead, speaking from somewhere on the Krovar command ship. "Target secured," he said calmly. "Supreme Commander Krell Noth is in custody. transmitting his location for pickup. Velthar's mind reeled. They'd infiltrated the Krovar flagship in the middle of a battle, captured their supreme commander, just walked in and took him. The Krovar fleet surrendered an hour later. What else could they do? Their leader was captured. Their command structure was shattered. Their military capability was gone. 3 weeks. That's how long it took. 3 weeks to destroy what the Krovar had built over centuries. Captain Minseo addressed the fleet after the final battle. We came here for justice, for the 40,000 who died at Bellwether, for every human killed by Krovar aggression. We've achieved our objective. The Krovar military is broken. They can't threaten anyone now. She paused, then continued. Some of you wanted more. Wanted to burn their worlds like they burned our station. I understand that anger. I feel it too. But we're not here for revenge. We're here to make sure this never happens again. We're here to show the galaxy that there are consequences for killing civilians. That's enough. The fleet began its withdrawal, left occupation forces to maintain order, left aid workers to help Krovar civilians. Even after everything, humans were helping their enemy rebuild. Velthar filed daily reports to the council. Knew they were reading them, knew they were watching. The entire galaxy was watching now. The final report from the campaign was simple. I've studied warfare for my entire career, analyzed thousands of conflicts across hundreds of species. I've never seen anything like human warfare. They don't fight with rage. They fight with cold, calculated efficiency. They've turned violence into science. Every move is planned. Every tactic is refined through thousands of years of experience. The Krovar never had a chance. They were fighting soldiers. The humans sent professionals who've been perfecting warfare since before most council species left their homeworlds. I saw humans unleash their capabilities, and it shattered everything I knew about combat. The galaxy will never underestimate them again. 6 months after the war ended, Velthar returned to the council station. The galaxy had changed in that time. Everyone had watched what happened. Everyone had seen the reports. Everyone had learned what humans were capable of when pushed. The council chamber was different now. The human section wasn't in the back anymore. It was near the center. 20 seats instead of 3. No one had argued about it. Ambassador Tae Yang returned to his position. Velthar met him in the diplomatic lounge before the session. He looked the same. Same calm expression. Same gentle demeanor. But something was different. There was weight behind his eyes now. The weight of knowing what his species had done. What they could do again if necessary. Observer Velthar, Tae Yang said, shaking hands in the human custom. It's good to see you again. Ambassador, Velthar replied, I didn't expect you to come back. Neither did I, Tae Yang admitted. But someone needs to make sure we don't have to do that again. Someone needs to help build something better than what we had before. They sat down. Velthar had so many questions. Why did you return? Velthar asked. After everything the council failed to do? Tae Yang was quiet for a moment, because giving up on peace is easy. Maintaining it is hard. We proved we can win wars. Now we need to prove we can win peace. A young human approached them. Dong-Yun Im, one of the new diplomatic staff. He looked nervous but determined. The post-war generation. They'd grown up hearing about Bellwether, about the council's failure, about the war. But they still chose diplomacy. Ambassador Kim, Dong-Hyun said, the session is about to begin. The 3 of them walked to the chamber. Other species watched them enter. Some with respect now, some with fear, none with dismissal. The arbiter called the session to order. The first item on the agenda made Velthar's crystalline body tense. Formal apologies and reparations to humanity. One by one, council members stood and acknowledged their failure. The Velen representative spoke first. We failed to protect the innocent, she said. We chose bureaucracy over justice. We allowed 40,000 humans to die because intervention was inconvenient. We were wrong. The Velen Collective formally apologizes and offers full reparations to humanity. Others followed. Not all of them. Some species still remained silent, but enough spoke that the message was clear. The galaxy had learned. When it was the Krovar representative's turn, the entire chamber went quiet. It wasn't the old ambassador. That one was in prison for war crimes. This was a new representative, younger, female. She stood slowly. The Krovar Dominion acknowledges full responsibility for the Bellwether massacre, she said. Her voice was steady, but Velthar could hear shame in it. We targeted civilians. We killed children. We committed atrocities. No apology can undo what we did. No reparations can bring back the dead. But we offer both anyway, and we ask humanity to help us become better than we were. Ambassador Tay Yang stood, walked to the center platform. Everyone watched. We accept the Council's apology, he said. We accept the reparations, but more importantly, we accept the opportunity to build something better. We came to the galaxy hoping to find civilization. Instead, we found politics. We found bureaucracy. We found species more concerned with comfort than justice. He looked around the chamber, met eyes with dozens of representatives. But we also found the potential for something greater, the potential for a galaxy that actually lives up to its ideals, where law means something, where justice isn't optional, where the strong protect the weak instead of ignoring them. He paused. We proved we can fight. We proved we can win. But that's not what we want to be known for. We want to be known as the species that chose peace even after experiencing war, that helped build systems that actually work, that made sure no other species has to do what we did. The chamber was silent. Then the Velen representative began a gesture of respect. Others joined. Even species that hadn't apologized showed their acknowledgement. After the session, Velthar found Tay Yang again. That was a powerful speech, Velthar said. It needed to be said, Tay Yang replied. The galaxy needs to understand. We're not going away. We're not going to be quiet anymore. But we're also not going to become the thing we fought against. They walked through the station together. Velthar noticed other species watching them, giving space, showing respect. Can I ask you something personal? Velthar said. Of course. That day, after Bellwether, when you left the council, I saw something in your eyes, something that frightened me. What was it? Tay Yang stopped walking, looked out a viewport at the stars. Humanity's history, he said quietly. All of it. Every war, every atrocity, every lesson learned in blood. We carry that with us. All humans do. We remember what we're capable of, what we've done to each other. That's why we try so hard for peace, because we know exactly what war costs. And when you saw the council wouldn't help? I remembered why we learned to fight in the first place, Ta Yang said. To protect what matters, to stop evil when words fail. I remembered that sometimes violence is necessary, not because we want it, but because the alternative is worse. Velthar understood now. Humans weren't peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they were strong enough to choose peace, strong enough to remember why they wanted it. Later, Velthar visited Earth, wanted to see how humans were healing. The military facilities were still there, but operating at reduced capacity. The civilian stations were being rebuilt. Commerce was returning. Life was going back to normal. Velthar met Sora Kong, the survivor from Bellwether. She was working on reconstruction efforts, helping design new stations, making sure they were safer, better protected. How do you do it? Velthar asked her. After what happened? How do you move forward? Sora looked at the construction site. Because they would want us to, she said. The people who died. They wanted to build, to create, to live peaceful lives. The best way to honor them is to keep building, keep creating, keep choosing life over death. Do you forgive the Crovar? No, Sora said honestly. Not yet. Maybe never. But I'm working on it. Holding on to hate just gives them more power over us. They took enough. I won't let them take my future, too. Velthar spent weeks on Earth. Met soldiers returning from the war. Met families rebuilding their lives. Met children being born into a galaxy that was different now, safer now. One day, Velthar attended a memorial service at the site where Bellwether Station used to be. Thousands of humans floated in spacesuits, forming a ring around empty space. In the center, they released 40,000 lights, one for each person who died. Ambassador Tai Yang was there. He placed a wreath in the void, spoke quiet words that Velthar couldn't hear, wept silently. Nearby, children played in zero gravity, laughing, living, unafraid. That's when Velthar truly understood. Humanity hadn't fought for revenge. They'd fought so their children could play without fear, so their people could build without being destroyed. So peace was possible, not because everyone was nice, but because everyone knew the cost of not maintaining it. Velthar returned to the council station and began writing a final report. Not for the council, for history, for anyone who wanted to understand what really happened. The report began. I studied humanity for years and thought I understood them. I was wrong. I saw them as patient diplomats, as gentle negotiators, as people too peaceful for the harsh realities of galactic politics. Then I watched them go to war, and I saw the truth. It continued. Humans aren't peaceful because they can't fight. They're peaceful because they've fought more than any species I've ever studied. They've perfected warfare over thousands of years. They've nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. They learned that violence, while sometimes necessary, should always be the last choice. Not because it doesn't work, but because it works too well. The report concluded, I saw humans unleash their rage, and it shattered everything I knew. Not just about them, but about war, peace, and civilization itself. They showed the galaxy that true strength isn't the ability to fight. It's the wisdom to choose peace while maintaining the capability to fight. They showed us that justice delayed is justice denied. They showed us the cost of inaction. The galaxy will never make the mistake of dismissing humanity again. But more importantly, the galaxy learned that systems that don't protect the innocent will eventually face those willing to do so by force. Humanity didn't just win a war. They reminded us all what civilization actually means. Velthar saved the file, looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were building, creating, living peaceful lives. But they remembered. They would always remember. And they would never again wait for someone else to protect them. The galaxy was better for it, harder, more honest, more just. And Velthar was grateful to have witnessed it all.